Hello everyone, Sriram here. We have a good success story here with a lot of smile Adi's in front of us. She has cleared PMP in 2021 model. Okay, that's very interesting. So first of all, congratulations to Adi Lakshmi for her wonderful achievement getting this PMP.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
great. Great. So now we have to understand from her how the exam went on because many of us have this question. How many of agile questions, mathematics questions was there or not? Was exam questions bigger, smaller, right? This kind of
Mhm.
repeated questions coming up. Also, people will be very interested to know how you prepared, what kind of books you read, right? These are usual questions come up. Let's
Mhm.
go to the questions a little later. But before that, how do you feel about the success?
Well, I cannot stop smiling. You can see that from my face. And and I'm still not able to believe. I had to literally like download my certificate to believe that I passed the exam.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I have to bring that certificate. Okay, there it goes. Thanks for reminding
Mhm.
me. Okay, here it is. Okay, for 16th of February. Okay, great.
Right.
So when you saw this certificate and downloaded, I'm sure you had a good smile in your face.
Yes, I did. Because I mean, to be honest, I have to dedicate this to my mom because like I just casually mentioned it to her. Like I said, you know what, if I did this exam, it's going to do be very good for my career. I just mentioned it and that's it. Ever since I said it, every day she'll be like, oh, when are you taking the exam? When are you signing up? Are you taking the exam? Have you taken it? So finally, when I got the certificate, I took a picture. She's still in India. I mean, I'm in the US now. Middle of the night, I sent her the picture and I called her and I said, Ma, I passed the exam. So she's like, what exam? Because it was almost like 1 a.m. there. So
Okay, so
I need to dedicate this to her.
that's great, wonderful. So you have a program manager and portfolio manager at home who is tracking your KPI regularly.
Honestly, yes, I keep telling her if she was, I mean, she has not studied so much uh, because of the background she came from, but I keep telling her if she was educated, she could have been like the best project manager ever. She always gets things done on time, within budget, and within scope.
True, true, true.
No
I
scope, please.
at this point. Most of the mom are internally they are a good programmer, portfolio managers. As they keep on managing with the situations around them, managing the kids day to day, the ever running factory called kitchen, it's taken care.
True.
That's great. Happy to know that. I'm seeing a lot of smile at your face. So what happened? So when you started the preparation, give some journey about your PMP.
Absolutely.
Before that, which city you are and which country you are.
Okay, right now I'm in Holden, which is close to Boston.
Okay.
So it's East Coast time,
Okay.
about 4 hours drive from New York. I'm
Very good.
actually
Very
staying
good.
at my friend's place because I'm in transit.
Oh,
I've been in the US, but then I came to India, took a break, and I put all my stuff in storage, thinking that, okay, when I come back, I'll figure it out because I wasn't sure with the COVID when I was going to come back. But
right.
now I'm
Right.
back and now I'm okay. Now that I have my certificate, I'm working on my next steps. So
Fantastic.
that's
How is PMP valued in the domain where you are? How do you see that?
Um, well, with the kind of background I have, like consulting, PMP is considered really high. Even though I'm not like in an IT professional, even non-IT, the functional background, it is highly preferred,
Wow, that's
especially
interesting.
like where people because most of us like who are in consulting, we go into implementation and helping clients with the payroll and like the functional part of it, the HCM products.
Got
So
you.
they look for the PMP certification, and most of the job profiles that I've seen, PMP preferred. So that's like 90% of the time.
Okay.
Even though I have my payroll certification, they'll be like PMP preferred. So that's when I realized, okay, it adds more value.
Okay. So no wonder that you had a good smile when you opened the session. That PMP certified. The moment you
Mhm.
came to camp, you showed a great smile. Now I understand
Yes.
why it is.
Mhm.
Okay. With this, let's get inside. So talk about your journey. What happened there?
Okay. So I've been thinking about PMP for a few years now,
Ah,
but I've been like just putting it away until last year. I think somewhere around February, I think around the same time, on LinkedIn, Rahul had posted that with ShriLearning, there's always like a high pass rate. I'm like, okay, let me see what are they going to do. I just pinged him, and then he sent me the information. I happened to be in India and I said, okay, I'm going to sign up. It's not that expensive compared to how much you have to pay here for a 4-day immersion course. I said, okay,
Right.
I have all my time. Let me just start with my prep. And then I signed up and then I took classes. Even then, I was more like everything was going over my head because it's all like something I have done part of it, but most of the language wasn't with what I wasn't used to it. So it was
Mm.
hard. But still, I kind of saw that every time when you came for a class, you would start off with a nice smile and you would say, okay, future leaders. And then, like, you need to be the top 2%. So that kind of stuck in my head all the time. And so I was just looking forward to those classes. And also, like, when you used to do the breakup sessions with people in the class,
Right.
and how we kind of interacted behind the scene, as in, like, on WhatsApp, people would like check on each other to say, okay, when are you preparing, just helping out each other. So it was a very supportive environment, which was
That's
very helpful.
that's nice.
And each of them had like their own story to say, okay, this is how I prepared, this is how I scheduled it, and this is the, like, I set up the date. And I think I spoke to you a couple of times saying that, Shriram, I want to do it and I have like 21 days. I still remember, but then that 21 days kept extending. And then I think one of the calls, or like one of the your messages, you said, we cannot think of this as your project. Do you want it to be successful or not? So that's what kept going on in my mind for the past few days. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming back to the US. So let me just schedule the exam.
Mm.
So I just randomly picked a date. I still have until April, but I said, okay, you know what? I don't want to stretch it too much because once I start like full time and everything, it's going to be hard. February
Right.
16th, I'm setting the date. And I didn't want to pick a Monday or a Friday because I didn't want the pressure of, okay, start of the week, end of the week. So Tuesday morning. And I said, earlier the better. And I think that was also your tip. You said, get it done earlier. So I said, okay, 9 o'clock. So 8:30, I had to be like set up in front of my laptop. And this was from home. So proctored completely. I
Right.
checked my system completely the couple of days before. My mic wasn't working. And I was like I was freaking out because I'm like, it just kept showing error. I'm like, okay, how do I fix it? And somehow I managed, I Googled and everything was set.
Okay.
On the day of the exam, the
Mm.
proctor comes in, checks everything. I took it from the bed because I was so tensed. It's so cold here, even though we have heat. Because I was so nervous,
Uh-huh.
uh, I said, okay, I'm just going to take it from here. The proctor came, started the test. Everything was smooth. The time is something we have to manage, considering that, okay, let me go into the details of the exam.
Sure. Sure.
It's 180 questions, as everybody knows, split
Mm.
into 60. So every time you finish the 60 questions, it stops automatically and tells you to take a break. Even if you don't take a break, it's going to, you just have to end it and then restart. So it goes to the next session.
Right. Right.
So then I decided, okay, I'm going to take a break. That's again your tip. You said, get up, get a chocolate, stretch yourself, whatever. So I did that exact same thing. I told my friends also the previous night, hey, do you have chocolates at home? Because I need chocolates. So I went and had a
What
chocolate.
chocolate? What chocolate is that?
Well, I had Nutella, so it wasn't actually a chocolate. So I had Nutella,
Okay.
and I went back and I said, okay, session two. Because already by the first session, my hands were all like sweaty and I wasn't sure what happened. First thing, I think I took a lot of time. Like,
Mm.
I read through everything in detail. Um, and when it came to the second one, also, I was like checking on the time because in between, I pinged the proctor to say, okay, how do I know if I'm like within my time frame? And the explanation she was giving wasn't very clear to me. Then I
Mm.
realized that 10-minute break doesn't count towards my exam time, but I need to get my exam done within the 200 and
Uh,
what's the 4 hours 20 minutes.
to 30 minutes.
Yeah, 230 minutes. Yeah, exactly. So it
Right.
was kind of confusing because I was like trying to get to the questions, and at the same time, the time is just like flying by. Even the second session was fine. When it came to the third one, was when I started getting panicky because a lot of the questions that were coming. Okay, one more thing, no math questions for me. Absolutely no math question, but I was already prepared. Like, okay, I saw the whiteboard. I was like, okay, we'll figure it out when it comes. I'm just going to guess it. I'm not going to spend too much time.
Mm.
Most of the questions were within the multiple choice. you had to pick like two or three. So it wasn't just A, B, C, D. They would give you like six options and they'll say, pick two out of these or pick three.
Mm.
So for you to like pick multiple choices within that was hard because I
Yeah.
was not used to it. It was more like, okay, elimination, you kind of get away to immediately, you knock it off, and then you have to choose between the two. But now this, you have to choose more than one. So it was tricky for me. So
Yeah.
that was one part of the exam. And the other part of it was you had like two choices, as in you had two columns. Like,
Mm.
how as kids we would say, if it's a kitten, then you match it to the picture of the cat.
Right.
So that kind
Right.
of a thing. So you had to like drag and drop.
Drag and
So
drop.
when you drag and drop, it covers the answer on this side. So you don't know what you completed. Just in case if you were wrong, you had to again bring it back this side. So it's kind of wasting your time going back and forth.
Repeat again. So it doesn't show you what actually you
Okay, so for
selected.
example, if it says on column this side, probably it says about the different process,
Uh-huh.
match it to different knowledge areas,
Very good.
right?
Okay.
So if I say process A matches with process knowledge area A, then once I drag it and drop, I can't see the knowledge area A there. It only shows process,
My
but
goodness.
not the one behind.
That's
So
tricky.
I only have these left behind to say, okay, just in case if that was wrong, if I mismatched it, how do I match these things? So that was tricky again. And this
Deep.
is not just like two or three, it was again four or five on each side. So that's where the time just like it went by so quick. So towards the end of the exam, like I think I had almost like 10 questions, but I had 3 minutes.
Phew.
It was so scary. And I said, okay, I'm just going to like quickly read just the last line of the question and see what is close, and I'm going to do it.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the thing. So now this reading the question and attempting it, that was basically from the mock exam that we did last week. So that helped me a lot because
Oh.
I think Rahul sent that 40 question thing. And after that, we all debriefed on why we need to pick that answer, because I know a lot of people were arguing about the murder board. I still remember it. So the way you explained how to answer, like, okay, there are four choices. How do we eliminate the things that are not an answer? So that was easy. It was a cakewalk. The other two, like when you had to decide which was the right one, I went with your logic. Okay, be a proper project manager, put yourself in that shoe, like in a proper way. Like if you were leading a team, if you had the budget, what would you do? So it was more like, it was a situational thing for me. So
Wow.
when I started doing it is where I think I spent a lot of time trying to really understand the question there, the situation.
Makes sense. Great. Good
So again,
job.
the exam was completely the process, people, and the business environment model, not the other one. So
Right.
most of the questions were agile. Like I saw Kanban board, like I think 3 or 4 times,
Mm.
and the Scrum role
Mm.
and things like that.
Right.
Most like the agile vocabulary kept
Right.
showing up all the time. And
Right.
I have no background in agile. Even the project management I don't have, but at least that, you know what, I've read the books. Coming back to the books.
That's what I had to ask with you. You're
Hmm.
totally not into agile. When you read these terms, was it so tough for you? Agile questions?
As in, I kind of understood the concept. Agile is more being flexible,
Right.
right? You're like trying to accommodate. So that's the high level understanding I had. So,
Got
okay,
it.
so if I were I'm catering to my client, what would I do? Like if somebody came and said, hey, I need this change, you're like keeping them more engaged compared to
Perfect.
what's the other one? Yeah, the other methodology.
Predictive model.
So predictive method, yeah, model. So I was like, okay, with that mindset, I'm like, okay, what do we do? But I
Per-
still didn't know the structure, as in like in terms of like the practical way how things are done in a
Perfect.
project with a Scrum Master. I had no clue. I still have no clue. I'm going to read it up. I think that's the next thing I'm going to work on, because that will be very helpful because most of the companies are moving agile. Like I
Right.
remember this one question that said, there's this team, each one has a different agile background. So
Hmm.
how do you work with them? So do you
Hmm.
give them training on like one agile methodology and have them all work on it? Or do you just like tell them to handle it on their own? So something like that.
Hmm.
So it, like I said, it's like a lot of agile based questions.
Got you. Got you. Perfect. Super. I like your presence of mind, thinking on the spot and answering. That's very important in examination. Great, great.
Mhm.
Now let's talk about your reading habit. What was the reading habit?
Okay. So reading, I did it when I started last year.
Uh-huh.
I read the book. I read Rita. I read what's that head?
At first
I
PMP.
forget the name. Um,
At
the
first.
head, yeah, head first. I did the Rita. I did actually Rita also. I didn't read much. I did the Pimbok and head first. I took all the questions and I made notes.
Mm.
So after that, I did not go back to the books. And then in between, I totally even like said, "Oh, PMP, what is that?" That was how I was. But then I think um, about November, December, my friend actually sent me some like a consolidated, like a cheat sheet, which
Uh,
had all the formulas, which
mm.
had like what's the leadership style, like everything. It was, I think it's in a 10-page document, something
Very
similar to what you have in your workbook. So
right.
I said, okay, you know what? I don't have much time, but I did this mock test. I still have 6 days. Let
Uh,
me see what I can do. So I
mm,
went through that and I had like, there were like a couple of exams, questions and answers, 100 that I saw on PMP simulator. So I kind of printed out, I just attempted it the first time. I got 45%. I
mm.
said, I don't think I have the time to really go and work on to get 75%. But what I
Okay.
did was I just did the comparison of the questions and answers. I went through each question to understand, okay, what did I do wrong? At least from this, I can study and learn. Because right now, I don't have the time to go back to books and like
Right.
start from chapters. So
Mm,
I went backwards, as in, okay, I'm just going to do the questions. I'm just going to compare the answers and see how I can address this. So that's
mm.
how I learned. And
That's
fortunately for me, there's another friend of mine. She's in Bulgaria right now. She wanted to take the exam and she was the one who pushed me. She's like, hey, let's both sign up for it. So when
okay.
she started pushing me, I'm like, okay, fine. We both did our MBA together here. So I wanted to like support her in her journey because she's new to it. So I sent
That's
her material like the mock test that you sent. I sent her your information and I said, this is where I signed up. If you want, you should sign up with them. And that's where I just kind of got started. So
great.
that's where it all started again. And
Great.
so I have to give credit to her also.
Perfect. Really, really sounds good. So how many full exams you would have tried, practice exams?
About four.
Four. Was it a new model you tried or it was an old model?
The old one was what I tried, three
Uh-huh.
of them. But I think the latest one that I did on PMP Simulator, which had 120 questions, which I
Right,
found on Facebook, I think
right.
that one kind of had like I wouldn't say too much of the new style, but then it didn't have too many of the etos and all that stuff. It was like very focused on process, people, and business.
Perfect, perfect. So it's really a good news that all happened with, I won't say it's well planned. It was a plan and then drop, again plan, and
Yes,
it,
but
right?
again, but that 2%, the top 2% never slipped my mind. I kept telling myself I just keep getting reminded of that, and I'm like, I need to get into that somehow. So
Right.
that was the motivating factor.
Seriously, that's really, really happy to know that because now you belong to top 2% where you cleared your.
Hmm.
Now, this journey is going to continue. See, the way you cleared the exam now, it's giving
Hmm.
enormous confidence to you that anything is achievable, right?
True.
Uh, Last 3, 4 days, your blood energy will be very high. Give me
Hmm.
more. You may be asking, give me more, challenge me more, right?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, even my husband gave me like a huge monetary incentive. He said, if you pass the exam, I'm going to give you this amount. At
Wow.
that point, even that didn't motivate me as much. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, okay, that's fine. But then when I really saw the certificate and I sent it to him, he's like, wow, you did it.
Seriously,
So he
seriously,
even he was very proud of it. So
seriously.
I that just seeing him proud made me really happy.
That's great, you know. You should have seen your mom face. She would have been so happy when she saw the certificate, even though she don't understand it. But she
Mhm.
would have been excited. See, this certificate, more than project management and leadership, I always see this as showing your discipline, showing
Mhm.
your character, right? After academics, so many years later, we have to sit in a focused way out of all the family problems, other stuff, everything running in our mind. And then we clear
Absolutely.
and
That's the
that way,
challenge.
The day when you see your name there, you will get emotional. Without your knowledge, there'll be a teardrop coming out.
You won't believe I did check with the proctor because I saw congratulations. And before I heard from you saying, oh, don't even take your phone to like take a screenshot because they'll revoke it and everything. So I started pinging her. I see congratulations. What does that mean? She's like, that means it means you passed. I'm like, really? But I don't believe it. And immediately after that, I called Pearson to check if I passed because I wanted to see it in the system on before I got my certificate because it said wait for 1 to 3 days. I
Right.
went to the Pearson and again I bugged Rahul. Rahul is I cannot like thank him enough because anytime sometimes I wonder if he even sleeps because anytime I text he'll respond to me immediately. And then I said, Rahul, how do I know I passed? I need to know because my certificate is not going to come now. Then he said, oh, go to this website. He sent me the link. He said, you'll see your score. I mean, score as in it'll say that this is the target and everything. So as soon as only when I saw it, I believed it.
You felt,
And
oh,
then I literally cried. I cried and I started screaming. I started shouting, and my friend was about to come into the room. I said, no, 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 don't come because I don't want anybody coming into the room and the proctor saying something. So it was like just too much.
I
I
know.
did cry. Yes, I did cry.
I've seen many people, they can't even speak when they clear the exam. You'll only hear the air.
No, I immediately started thanking all the gods. Like I thanked the universe. I was like, oh my God, I'm so thankful for making this happen. I was super grateful to everything and everybody that has helped me through this journey.
Right. You got in the right time in your life. Now you have to take it furthermore and start
Mhm.
achieving. Right. And this is not the final destination. This is the, I will tell, starting point. The doors
Yes.
of leadership has opened now. It's up to
Yes,
you.
I'm on the top 2% now. I have to. There are so many people. I mean, it's more like a visionary. You need to like encourage other people to get into that bracket.
Perfect. That's great. Amazing. So if you want to give some do's and don'ts for the people who are moving towards examination, coming from a non-agile background, right, and
Mhm.
being a corporate woman and having family. So what are things you will tell that, hey guys, do this? It'll be good to reach. You have any thoughts in your mind?
Well, for people who have difficulty in reading through books, I would just say try to find a study partner who probably have made the points. So it'll be easy for you to just say, okay, this chapter, I just need to understand these things.
Makes
Things you
sense.
don't understand, go like I also used to like Google and try to figure out, okay, what does this mean? Like a 2 3 line sentence, nothing too much into detail, because too much into detail is only going to waste your time.
Right.
So work with somebody is what I will say. So go with those notes. Go with like basic concepts first. Try to understand the basic part of it and then go into the details. For people who don't have time, I will just say take the test and then compare where you went wrong. I mean, as in like evaluate, assess, and see where you went wrong, because that will give you like an understanding of, oh, you can learn backwards, not from the book, but from the questions and answers.
Perfect.
So that's kind of like an easier way, I would say. That would be a good start. At
Perfect.
least that worked for me.
That's the best thought. I appreciate that because I have seen some of them who read with a partner. They read faster because they share knowledge and go faster. That's a good one. Any other don'ts you have? Don't do this, guys. Kind of anything.
Don't I then I wouldn't waste too much time on one topic, like, because especially when you read the when you're seeing the questions and the answers, it'll say PIMBOK page so and so. Like, don't get too much into it, because
Uh,
you need to have an understanding. Like, put yourself in that position and say, okay, if I was doing it, because it's like a lot of times it's more ethical, like how you do it practically, those kind of things. Like what are the PMI standards? What do they
right.
outline? So those are the things that you need to focus on, right? So don't ever go analyzing it way too much,
I think
because
it's a very
that's going to take up too much of your time.
the strong message. I have seen some of them. They go too much into multiple books, and still they're not
Mhm.
satisfied. They sometimes come to me, and I have to explain the same point. But again, they don't get enough. They feel little more, explain more, right?
Mhm.
So when you go too much, also there is a chance you get deviated. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Good point. That's a good
And
point.
also, like, see, there's only so much, like, all of us have some kind of a degree. How
Right.
much of what you've learned in college have you
Right.
actually taken into your real work? So it's exactly the same thing. So let's be more practical when, like, okay, you need the concepts, but
Right.
how do you apply them when you take the exam. So that's what you need to work on.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm with you on the point.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Great. I'm really so happy to see you with this success, right? And
Thank you.
thanks for coming up here. At the moment you said you cleared the exam, Rahul immediately messaged and called me. Said she cleared the exam. We are so excited because
Hmm.
clearing in 2021 is new to us. We are used with the pattern for so many years, and the pattern
Hmm.
change makes many people scared of the exam. So when somebody goes as a brave heart and tell that, hey, I cleared the exam, it gives confidence to hundreds of people who are in the line. So that too, when you're coming from a non-agile background and also you're
Hmm.
telling a lot of problems around you and you're able to clear the exam, I'm sure it's going to boost many of them's confidence level, right? So I want to
No,
thank you.
absolutely. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Because for me, to understand like some concepts, it takes me time. So I have done it and anybody can do it. But just go with that can do attitude. That's what I would say.
Perfect, perfect, fantastic, great.
Hmm.
Again, thanks a lot for coming up here
Sure.
and giving your experience. And I would like to see you more achieving in life because leadership will always is a journey. You
Hmm.
should anywhere. It may end at our last breath. So until then, it keep going on. So keep learning more, shine more, and
I'm
be
actually planning to sign up for the Agile, the Scrum course. So
okay.
I'll reach out to you soon.
Welcome.
And
Welcome.
you have an amazing team. I mean, team as in I've only interacted with Rahul. Both of you are really good motivators. Just keep it going. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thanks. I appreciate your time and keep rocking more. We'll do connect again. Right.
Sure.
Thanks a
All right.
lot. Catch you. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.